For the Ifugaos, the primary purpose in constructing a rice field is for agricultural production. Due to sheer necessity for food, Ifugao forebears carved rugged mountainous terrains to make terraced pond fields for rice cultivation. Any well-maintained pond field consists of 4 visible parts, such as the inundated enclosure called bawang, the dike called banong, the downhill embankment called longya, and the uphill side called loba. Terrace building is done with respect to the agricultural cycle. Work is done from July to November in time for the planting season in December to January. Water supply is the main consideration when selecting a construction site. Continuous inundation of the pond field is required to prevent erosion as well as for crop growth and maintenance. Soil type and slope are also considered. Clayey and loamy soil types are best suited for rice production. Meanwhile, less steep slopes are preferred as construction sites. Hydraulicking refers to the method of sluicing fill materials such as soil, gravel, stones, and rocks from an upper elevation to a pond field below with the use of strong water force. The process entails the creation of a dam at a higher elevation where water is impounded. Then, temporary canals from the side are constructed leading to the pond field below so that fill materials are guided to where it is needed when water is released. Sometimes, bamboo conveyor troughs are constructed to transport fill materials across a pond field. Usually, hydraulicking is done in July to September at the height of the rainy season. Apart from rice field construction, hydraulicking is also done to widen rice fields and to clear erosions that has fallen on the pond field. With very few exceptions, walls tilt at angles from 65 to 90 degrees. A straight or slightly concave batter is desirable. Deviations from this type are signs of a poorly constructed embankment. The terrace wall is reinforced by building a buttress from the original wall. Without buttresses, terrace walls may reach as high as 6 meters. The purpose of sloping stone walls and buttressing is to counteract the overturning moment made by active soil pressure. Terrace building is done with respect to the agricultural cycle. Work is done from July to November in time for the planting season in December to January. Water supply is the main consideration when selecting a construction site. Continuous inundation of the pond field is required to prevent erosion as well as for crop growth and maintenance. Soil type and slope are also considered. Clayey and loamy soil types are best suited for rice production. Meanwhile, less steep slopes are preferred as construction sites. There are 2 kinds of terrace walls, the stone walls called tuping and the mud or earthen walls called mimi. Where slopes are steep, stone walls are built to protect and strengthen the terrace walls. Stone wall terraces are typical of the Mayoyaw and Batad rice terraces. On the other hand, areas with gradual slopes make use of earthen or mud walls. Rice terraces in other Ifugao municipalities are of mixed stone and mud terrace walls. Building materials for stone walling are either river stones called muling or fire split boulders called piningping. Big boulders are manually split and transported to the construction site. Compared to the smooth river stones, fire split stones are preferred as they bond better. Stone walls are best constructed during dry season. Stone walls constructed during rainy season collapse easily because the soil is loose. In building a stone wall, the slope is first excavated to expose the hard earth. The foundation stone is laid on the excavated slope and filled back with small rocks and soil. Big boulders are used for the foundation or placed at the boundary to serve as a marker. Except for the two foundation stones, preferred stones are of different shapes with regular sizes. Larger rocks are placed lower in the wall than smaller ones. Angular and irregularly shaped stones allow for more contact between elements and ensure a greater stability under conditions of weathering, seepage, and ground movement due to earthquakes. If there is an internal water source, runo canes are laid supported by coarse fill of small stones and covered by gravel fill. These serve as whip holes for the internal water to drain. Subrounded and oblongish stones are laid so that they tilt back into the terrace body with the heavier and higher end facing out. Flat stones are set up on their sides so that their longer cross-sectional dimension is placed vertically. This helps develop transverse strength through the wall. For very tall stone walls, protruding header stones are built to allow climbing from one level to the next. When the desired height of the stone wall is reached, vigorous backfilling and tamping are done to make a hard earth fill. Next, the area is leveled and the terrace bed is filled with soft and thoroughly worked clay topsoil called luyok. A dike is constructed at the outer rim of the rice paddy. This is done by laying of soil to build the bund, moistening it with water, softening the clay soil by heel tamping, plastering the bund with clay soil using paddle spade, and pressing it into place by the heel of the foot. Water seepage into the foundation line of the slope may lead to landslides causing serious damage to the rice pond. To prevent this, moistness and plasticity of the pond bed must be maintained the whole year round. A carefully laid out irrigation and drainage system is required to ensure that water is available all year round for the paddies and rice crops. Water from springs, creeks, and rivers are diverted and dumped before distribution to the rice fields through irrigation channels and bamboo conveyor troughs. To protect the slopes from eroding, water channels are carefully laid out following the natural course of water runoff. Its velocity is regulated by an almost horizontal layouting of irrigation canals so that water gradually moves to the rice fields. Flooding and draining the pond field is balanced by a constant maintenance of the spillways. Excess water from a higher rice field is drained to the lower paddy or to a nearby creek through the spillways. During rainy season, the spillways are expanded for faster exit of water. During dry season, the spillways are closed to prevent water loss. Excess water from the irrigation source and spillways are directed to a drainage canal. Layouting of the drainage canal is done in such a way that water flow travels the shortest distance possible from the top to the river below. The walls of the drainage canals are self-standing and designed to withstand water velocity. Repair of most landslides and washouts are accomplished only after harvest season. However, repairs that will not adversely affect the crops may be done immediately. In an eroded earthen wall, the following steps are done. The eroded portion is excavated until the foundation stones are exposed. Then, spadefuls of moist clay soil are layered in an interlocking manner over the excavated portion. To make the soil dense, hill tamping is done, followed by another layer of interlocked soil. The process of soil layering and hill tamping continues until compacted soil reaches the desired height. In repairing a slumped panbed and dike due to cracking, the following steps are done. Excavate the panbed to expose the end of the crack. Thin layers of backfill are laid, followed by hill tamping. Layering and compacting continues until it levels with the panbed. The protruding slumped portion of the terrace wall is scraped until it is aligned with the rest of the terrace wall. Modes of labor include the payment of daily wages as agreed by the worker and the owner of the rice field. Another mode is the Ugbo system, or reciprocal labor exchange system, whereby members of the work group agree to work for each other's field for similar terrace works for the same number of days rendered. Rituals are performed before and during the construction of a rice field to gain the favor of deities, so that no accident may be encountered by the workers until the work is completed. After completion of the rice field, another ritual is performed as thanksgiving, as well as to seek the blessing of the deities so that the pan fields may last for a long time. Commonly, boundary disputes are settled through a wrestling match. Each party may choose a wrestler to represent him or her during the match. At the disputed boundary, the wrestlers try to topple each other. Where the wrestlers are laid flat, the locations are marked and a new boundary is usually set between the two marked locations in case the original boundary cannot be restored. The Ifugao rice terraces epitomize the blending of the physical environment, the sociocultural, economic, religious, and political values of the people. These are the priceless contribution of the Ifugaos to humanity. For most Ifugaos, their survival lies on the rice crop they take from the rice terraces, which is the most important reason for conserving the rice terraces.